Welcome to the Freedom Camp Podcast, rooted in truth, growing in freedom, and built on the belief that you weren't meant to grow alone. Each week, I'll share honest stories, insights, and simple questions to help you explore the unseen things that keep you from living in the freedom that's already yours. And take brave, intentional steps toward the life you were made for. This is your space to reconnect with your authentic self and grow in freedom on purpose. So today I wanted to share something that has been an ongoing challenge, an ongoing thing for me for, 20 some years. When I was little, growing up in the city, there was a different word for women that were homeless, or I think the current vernacular is unhoused, and they were called bag ladies. And they would have all these bags all strapped around them, and they were carrying these bags. And that image has stuck with me in the sense of all of us being bag ladies and carrying things with us that we that really aren't ours to carry. Resentments, guilt, unforgiveness, beliefs, mindsets, attitudes, conclusions that we've come to that aren't necessarily the truth. They may be what we feel, but that doesn't mean that it's the truth. And so this week in Freedom Camp, we explored that, and we explored the connection between rest and emotions in relation to that. So how can we let go of that baggage? How can we identify the baggage? And then how can we let it go so that we can take some much needed rest emotionally from whatever that baggage is that we're bringing along. So one of the things that I was reminded of also was the best ever song. Actually, she's got a lot of really good ones from Erykah Badu, which is Bag Lady. And she's saying, bag lady, you're going to hurt your back carrying all this stuff around. And then at the end, it's like, let it go, and I bet you love is going to save you, or something like that. Basically, it's releasing the old and receiving the love. Of course, the love that we have in God, the love that we're sharing for ourselves when we're being kind and compassionate and letting go of these old things. It also was all stirred up because recently my husband had a birthday, and there wasn't much of a plan for what we were doing for his actual birthday. So I'm in this place of like recognizing that one of the bags are full for me of trying to manage other people's emotions so that I don't have to deal with my own. So that if someone else is aggravated, for example, it's easier, or it's not really easier, it's more familiar. It's more familiar for me to try and help them not be aggravated than it is for me to deal with my emotions about them being aggravated. Does that make sense? Sort of this like twisted, well, if you were happy, then I'd be happy. It's like not healthy. However, that's kind of where this whole thing was birthed from again, because I was acutely aware on that day that there was some frustration about like, well, what are we doing? And I was trying to find a new way to deal with it. I was trying to let go of that belief that I needed to manage the emotions of everybody else. And instead, if they wanted to be salty and aggravated, then knock yourself out, be salty and aggravated. I'm not gonna try and fix it. Ish. I mean, it didn't work as well as I wanted it to. Because I also didn't have a, okay, well, what am I going to do? So it's sort of like if you're trying to lose weight and you realize, oh, I snack too often during the day, or I snack at all during the day, and I'm going to stop snacking. Great. What are you going to do to help set you up for success to stop snacking? So all that to say, I ended up realizing that I wasn't really clear on where that belief even, like, what it was, where it came from. Not that you have to go back and dig all this stuff out of your past. I think there's a time and a place for that, but I don't think it's mandatory. The bottom line is it gave me an idea for Freedom Camp. And so what I did was made a mural board, and in Freedom Camp, we went through, first we picked our bag. So you could have like a big hiking backpack, or you could have a cool like boho sling bag, or you could have like some fancy luggage looking leather stuff. Well, one of the things that came up was um, some folks thought like, well, I was thinking like a garbage bag. I was thinking a trunk, like an old school trunk. That right there, if we'd had the time to really dig in and explore, you may learn something about yourself just from that. But since we're keeping it short here, what I want to encourage everyone to do is to think of a bag, whatever your bag of choice is. And then we had some rocks. You could do it in a journal. You could do it any however you want. You could even just think about it. But there is always value in writing something down. Then you label the rocks and you identify what these things are that you are carrying, that's an emotional weight on you. So maybe you have a belief that you're not lovable. And so you carry that around with you. And that flavors your interactions with people. Maybe you have a belief that you need to manage other people's emotions so that you can feel better. Maybe you have a belief that it's up to you to do the thing or fix things or whatever. So the first part is get a bag virtually, then write down what your luggage is, your baggage, what it is that you're carrying. Then from there, you look at maybe just one, maybe there's several, but at least just one that you are wanting to let go. And so we used the scripture about casting all your cares on him, and thinking about how you can give that away, give that to Jesus. So then we went through a little visualization, and through that it was like, okay, you open up your bag, you take out a rock, it's identified as I'm unlovable, and then you set it at the feet of Jesus. If, for example, that was your rock, um, that's a pretty uh, easy, not easy one, in the sense of we are the beloved. We know that God created us in love, for love, to love. There's plenty of scriptures that can help us to keep our thoughts captive to Christ and can help us to show ourselves what the truth is versus the way that we have experienced something and come to a conclusion that perhaps we are unlovable. So that's ultimately the key. Maybe you're going to do it multiple times. Maybe you're just going to like wipe the whole thing out at once and you're like, I'm done. I'm getting rid of all my luggage. So you set it at the feet of Jesus, and this is like a visualization type thing. It's setting an intention, but then there's what are you receiving? What are you receiving in exchange? So for me, for example, with my earlier example of managing the rest of the family's emotions, what I received, not that day, because I didn't do this, um, after the fact, earlier this week in Freedom Camp, what I have received the remainder of the week is courage to identify and look at what am I feeling, and courage to process through those feelings. And even the reminder that it's usually like 90 seconds to process through an emotion. Now, granted, you might have to process through it 10 times in a day, but there's this bravery that came with it. There's this a self or sense of accomplishment that came from being able to do something that felt really hard and let them feel however they're going to feel. And even if they're not having a great day or a great moment, um, I can still have a good attitude. I don't have to slip into whatever mood they are in. And as an empath, that's something that I'm continuing to grow into because I often feel the mood, the vibe of whatever is around me. And so that's an area of real intentionality and growth for me to be able to like, I'm here and I'm with you, but I'm not completely like feeling whatever it is that you are feeling as well, if that makes sense. So I do have a little ending like reflection, I guess, an ending encouragement, homework. Write down at least one stone that's in your backpack, something that is heavy, something that you're carrying, something that has emotional weight to it. Speak it out loud, write it down, and then say, God, I'm giving this to you. And then, um, what are you giving me in exchange? We know how gracious and merciful God is and how often he wants to give us something in exchange. So see what he wants to give you in exchange. And then the last part is when you notice any of your body's cues, maybe your jaw tightens or your shoulders clench or you feel this kind of thing in your stomach or whatever your tell is, when you feel that, ask yourself, what am I holding? Because the other thing that we learned through doing this process, so many of these things we have been holding for so many years, we're not even aware that we're lugging this stuff around. So I hope that is helpful. I would love to hear in the comments below what it is that you realized, maybe that you're holding, what it is that you received in exchange, anything that you want to share on this. And thank you so much for listening and or watching, and look forward to connecting again next week. Thanks for listening to the Freedom Camp podcast, where we believe freedom is nurtured from within and grows when you tend to it. If this stirred something in you, let it take root this week and see what grows. And if you enjoyed this or found it meaningful, please give the gift of a review, share it with a friend, and leave a comment below. It helps us build this podcast community because we weren't meant to grow alone.